Chapter 2, The Stone Rahab. Rishon's training was being put to use. His knowledge of the ancient stories helped him recognize the layout of the second heaven. The cosmos of the first age looked nothing like that of the second age. "Hey, Rishon," Morris called out. "Look at the stones of fire. They look like a 5 on the face of dice." "I think it looks like a pyramid," Alyssa added. Everyone looked at Alyssa, then back at the stones of fire's formation. Now everyone saw them in a different way. Their pattern did construct an enormous pyramid. "Where are the other stones?" Connor asked as he counted only 5. The 5 planets, the stones of fire, were arranged in a multi-dimensional pattern. 4 of the stones were laid out in a perfect square. In the middle of this square, but far above the other stones, the 5th stone was arranged. The view of the stones of fire jolted Rishon's understanding of Or's arrangement. "Alyssa, wonderful observation. It is in a pyramid shape. By this layout, Afar is directly aligned with Salem as well as with the northern sector. We need to remember that Or has a reason for this." Rishon's enthusiasm was spreading to the children as they realized that they were witnessing a structure of grace. Rishon had practiced this speech for years. However, it had never made as much sense as it did on this day. He began sharing the stories and history that had been passed down to him through his family and taught by King Yehoshua. He knew that the children needed as much background information as possible in order to fully appreciate their tour and to understand each stop's importance. He began with, "In the cosmos, Or established 5 stones of fire for the pleasure of his angelics as well as for himself. They each had a unique color and purpose." The children were staring out at the arrangement of the stones of fire in the distance, wondering which direction they would go first when the coordinates for Rahab appeared on the panel. The wandering shuttle locked into the sequence and shot across the cosmos. While the shuttle carried the children to Rahab, the green stone of fire, Rishon decided it was a good time to introduce them to Sar, Rahab's leader and Or's most beautiful creation. The illustrious stone of Rahab was given to Or's most trusted angelic being. He was once known as Sar. Sar was the most beautiful and wise angelic in existence. "Why did you say he was once known as Sar?" Morris interrupted Rishon's introduction. Rishon tilted his head as he looked over to Morris with a vague response. "Because things happen, and not all things are as they once were. I was taught as they were and not as they are." "What kind of angelic being is he?" Andrew jumped in. He hoped he was in a beer because he liked how they looked. "I am pleased that you are listening. I have a complete introduction prepared for you on each stone of fire as well as on the angelic that is accountable for that stone. I hope not to miss one detail." Rishon looked at Andrew to address his question. "Sar is a cherubim, which is a 4-faced angelic. However, Sar does not bear all 4 faces at once. Or appointed Sar to one of the highest ranks, Prince of the Cherubim. The cherubim were a group of 5 that worked directly under Or, but as a prince, Sar was over the other 4 cherubim as well as the other angelics. You need to understand that Sar was not only accountable for Rahab, his responsibilities reached beyond that one stone. Sar was the head of the angelics during the first age. His job was to also prepare the way for the coming king and to bring glory to Or. Suddenly, a digital image appeared next to Rishon. It was Sar, arranged in all his splendor. The shuttle filled with oohs and ahs from the children. All eyes were on the digital image. Rishon stared for only a moment, and then Sar's personage disappeared. Rahab was the most illustrious of the stones, and the children were ready to see it. Their shuttle flew over a grand palace nestled atop a vast mountain. "What is that place?" Alyssa asked with excitement. "I believe that it is the palace of Rahab." "Does Sar live there?" As a matter of fact, he does. The children continued to look down toward the palace. The grounds below it stretched as far as the eye could see. "I recognize that shape," Mia shouted out. "That end looks like a cross." "Yes, it does. The 4 quadrants are arranged according to the 4 cardinal directions," Rishon explained. He examined the palace complex's 4 floating quadrants. The 4 quadrants butted together, creating a trans-dimensional energy that the children had never seen. The quadrants floated above the ground like opposing magnetic forces. This helped to support the colossal tower that rose above the center of the palace. A vortex to the great temple in Salem stood in the tower's center. "Is that star significant?" Erin inquired as she looked at the rest of the palace. Rishon was intrigued by the question. Yes, everything is significant at this point. The 8-pointed star represents Sar as the light bearer of the coming king. The 8-pointed star is a magnificent piece of artwork. It is etched into the ruby-red quartz courtyard and overlaid with blue-violet moonstone, making up the public square. "That is funny. You are calling a round courtyard a public square," Connor stated as he nudged McLeahy. Connor was a child that could find humor in almost anything and often brought comic relief to the classroom. "So who is the public that meet there?" Rishon was still shaking his head at Connor's wit as he began to talk about the courtyard. "This is where the Malaks, Isham, and Abirs from throughout the cosmos assemble for gatherings, announcements, and teachings." "That courtyard holds all the angelics of the second heaven at the same time?" Megan questioned in amazement. "Not all together," Rishon declared. "Those that are assigned to Rahab will all meet together. The others only come for special appointed events. I am not sure exactly how the meeting and gatherings work, but I do know that the courtyard, if packed, can hold roughly 1/3 of the angelics. That is why I know that they do not all come in the public square at the same time." The children enjoyed seeing the other parts of Rahab as well. On the other side of the stone, their shuttle joggled. Rishon and the children searched the horizon for the reason that their shuttle was shaken. Instantly, the small holes in the protective shield reopened. A low hum entered the craft. Rishon spotted a large open theater ahead of them, where Malaks were playing every type of instrument imaginable. As the shuttle approached, the hum developed into a crisp melody. Upon arrival, over the stage, the deafening melody boomed through the shuttle's capsule. Everyone in the shuttle covered their ears. Morris yelled out over the music, "Hey, that looks similar to the lower section of Orr's amphitheater." The shuttle moved a distance away so that the music could be enjoyed for a few minutes. The children had never heard such a beautiful sound before. The rhythm and melody were so perfectly united that they seemed to draw everything into them as if to harmonize with their song. It appeared as though all things were alive, reacting and moving to each vibration. The resonance was pure. The children watched the brilliance of the environment around them intensify as it moved with the rhythm. "How can the Malaks stand to play the music so loud?" asked Megan. With this question, Rishon looked to see if the small holes had closed. The holes remained open. "Does the music sound too loud to any of you?" All the children shook their heads in response. "It is quite comfortable to me now that we are a distance away from the Malaks playing. We hear the sounds of the first age differently. The angelics throughout the universe are able to enjoy the music from Rahab. It is carried on special circuits through the universe at a continual rate. Therefore, each angelic hears the music at all times and at the same level. Because of this, the Malaks playing the instruments do not hear it any louder than we do right now." It was not long before the children's heartbeats synchronized with the beat. They had never experienced such a relaxing and peaceful sensation. Lighter and lighter they felt as they willingly gave themselves over to the soothing and inviting emotion created by the music. Rishon felt himself being pulled in as well, but snapped himself out of the rhythm when the shuttle went into drive. He was relieved he was not driving because he knew if they stayed any longer it would be nearly impossible to leave. Continuing on, the shuttle left Rahab, headed for the next 4 stones of fire. The tour continued on in this fashion until all pertinent stops had been completed. In the silence during their return, Rishon stressed these last words: "Watch for details. Everything is important, and your future depends on what you learn." He then added the critical point: "The patterns will repeat themselves. Find the patterns."